My name is Claire Whitmore. I'm 32 years old. And for 6 years, I built a future one. Exhausted shift at a time. Not a fantasy future. Not some glittering dream I talked about after 2 glasses of wine and forgot by morning. A real one. A modest house. A yard big enough for a dog. A kitchen where I could drink coffee before sunrise, without hearing neighbors through the wall, and for that future, I saved $80,000. Daniel knew that. He knew every sacrifice behind it. He knew about the car I drove, even after the passenger window stopped rolling down. He knew about the lunches I packed while my friends posted beach photos and weekend trips. He knew I had turned down vacations. New clothes. Concerts. Even birthdays that required flights. Every dollar had a purpose. Us. At least, that was what I thought. Daniel and I had been together for 4 years. He was charming in the way that made people forgive him before he even apologized. He worked in marketing, dressed better than anyone I knew, and could talk his way through any locked door. I was steadier, quieter, the saver, the planner. He used to kiss my forehead and say, "That's why we work. Claire, you keep us grounded." 3 months before everything fell apart, we found the house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a small backyard shaded by an old maple tree. It wasn't fancy, but the first time I stood in the empty living room, I pictured our life, filling it. Daniel wanted the primary bedroom painted charcoal gray. I wanted the third bedroom as a reading room and office. We argued playfully about cabinet colors, laughed about getting a dog, talked about where the Christmas tree would go. Then Daniel said his ex-girlfriend Vanessa had a cousin who worked at a mortgage company. He can get us a better rate. Daniel told me, "Let me handle the paperwork. You're already working yourself into the ground." I should have paused at Vanessa's name. I didn't. I was tired. I was in love. And I trusted him, so I gave him everything. Bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns, account records. Every document he asked for weeks. He showed me inspection notes, loan estimates, emails about closing costs. But now I understand what I missed. He never showed me anything with my name on it. The call came 4 days before closing. I was at work, standing near the break room vending machine, when an unfamiliar number lit up my phone. "Hi. Is this Claire Whitmore?" "Yes. This is the title company, calling about your closing on Friday. We just need to confirm the down payment funds. We show $82,000 coming from your account. But you're not listed on the mortgage or title. So, we'll need you to sign a gift letter, stating the funds are a gift with no repayment expected." The hallway went silent. Not actually silent. People were still walking. Phones were still ringing. Someone was laughing near the copier. But inside me, everything stopped. "I'm sorry," I said slowly. "What do you mean I'm not listed?" There was a pause. "The application only lists Daniel Harper as the borrower and title holder." I don't remember ending the call. I remember staring at my phone like it had become something dangerous. That night, Daniel came home carrying paint samples. "Babe," he said brightly, "look at these grays. This one feels expensive." "Right." I looked at the little cards in his hand. Then I looked at him. "I got a weird call today." His smile froze. "From who?" "The title company." For 1 second, his face changed. "Not much. Just enough." "What did they want?" "They said my $80,000 was being treated as a gift. They also said my name isn't on the house." Daniel laughed. It was the worst sound I had ever heard from him, because it was almost perfect. "What? No. That's obviously a mistake." "Good," I said, lifting my phone. "Let's call them." He stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. Not hard, but fast. "Claire. They're closed. We'll deal with it tomorrow." I looked down at his hand, then back at his face. "Why are you sweating?" "I'm not." "You are." "Hell, let's go." I called anyway. Put it on speaker. The title representative confirmed everything. Daniel Harper. Sole applicant. Sole name on title. Application submitted weeks earlier. When I ended the call, Daniel's face had gone pale. "Explain," I said. He swallowed. "Okay. Look. Vanessa's cousin said it would be easier this way because my credit score is higher. You used your ex-girlfriend's cousin to put a house in only your name with my money. It wasn't like that. What was it like? We were going to add you after closing. I stared at him. That is not how this works. You don't know that. I know enough to know you hid it from me. His eyes filled with tears, too quickly. Claire. I was trying to protect us. From what? Complication. There it was. Not an answer. A curtain. And behind it, something ugly. I felt strangely calm. So calm, it scared me. I nodded once and said, "Interesting paperwork." Daniel blinked. What? Nothing. Then, I walked past him into the bedroom and closed the door. He talked through it for almost an hour. First, it was Vanessa's cousin's idea. Then, it was because Daniel wanted the approval process to be smoother. Then, it was because he wanted to surprise me. Every version made him smaller. Every excuse made the betrayal clearer. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. I called the title company. I won't be wiring the money, I said. Then, I called my bank and locked down my account. Then, I called an attorney. By noon, the future Daniel had planned with my money was already beginning to collapse. And for the first time in 4 years, I understood something with perfect clarity. The house was never ours. It was his. I was just supposed to pay for it. I expected Daniel to panic. I expected anger. I expected bargaining. What I didn't expect was how quickly other people would join the fight. The first call came from his father. Less than an hour after I told Daniel I wouldn't send a single dollar. I was sitting at my kitchen table, reviewing notes from my attorney when my phone lit up. "Claire," his father said without greeting. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" I leaned back, protecting $80,000. A long sigh. Young people throw relationships away too easily these days. I laughed. The sound surprised even me. "Your son tried to buy a house behind my back. He was trying to build a future. With my money? You two were a couple. Not anymore." Silence. Then, his voice hardened. "You're making a terrible mistake." "No," I said. "Daniel already made it." He hung up. The next morning, his mother called, then his sister, then 3 of his friends. Every conversation sounded almost identical. Claire was overreacting. Claire was emotional. Claire was destroying a good man's future over paperwork. Paperwork. That word kept appearing, as if ownership of a $300,000 house was some administrative typo, as if my life savings were a misplaced receipt. By the end of the day, I had blocked 9 numbers. Daniel wasn't helping himself. The few messages he sent became increasingly desperate. "Please call me. We can fix this. You're blowing everything out of proportion. I never intended to hurt you." Then, "The seller is threatening legal action." Then, "The earnest money is gone." Then, "You know I can't afford this without you." That last message sat on my screen for a long time. Without you? Not without us. Not without our future. Without you. Without my money. The distinction mattered. Friday arrived. The official closing day. The day we had circled on calendars. The day we had celebrated months in advance. Instead of signing papers, I drove 3 towns over and spent the afternoon walking through a state park. The air was cool. Leaves moved in the wind. For the first time in weeks. My phone stayed silent. Until noon. Then it exploded. "Daniel. Call me. Daniel." The deal collapsed. "Daniel. The sellers are furious. Daniel. They're coming after me. Daniel. Please help." I stared at the screen, then locked it. For 6 years, I had sacrificed pieces of my life for that money. I wasn't about to hand it over because the person who betrayed me suddenly discovered consequences. That evening, I changed every password I owned. Banking, email, investment accounts, cloud storage, social media, everything. A few hours later, I received an alert. Failed login attempt. Unknown location. Then, another and another. My stomach tightened. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe not. Either way, I enabled additional security on every account. The next morning, my landlord helped me change the apartment locks. He didn't ask many questions. People in small towns rarely need the full story. They hear enough fragments to assemble the rest. By Monday, everyone seemed to know some version of what happened. Most were wrong. But gossip never waits for facts. 3 days later, Daniel's ex-girlfriend Vanessa appeared at my workplace. I was organizing inventory reports when the receptionist called, "There's someone here asking for you." When I stepped into the lobby, Vanessa was waiting. Perfect hair, perfect makeup, perfectly furious. "So you're really doing this?" I folded my arms. Doing what? Ruining Daniel's life. The audacity almost impressed me. Daniel ruined Daniel's life. You know he loves you. If that's love, I'd hate to see manipulation. Her eyes narrowed. You always controlled everything. Excuse me. The money. The plans. The decisions. He felt trapped. I stared at her. Then, a memory surfaced. Months earlier, a barbecue. Daniel and Vanessa, talking quietly on a patio, while everyone else was inside. When I'd approached, they had stopped talking immediately. At the time, I ignored it. Now I wondered how many conversations I had never heard. "How involved were you?" I asked. "What?" "With the mortgage." Her expression flickered. Only for a second. But I caught it, and suddenly I knew, not everything, just enough. Enough to realize this wasn't entirely Daniel's idea. Enough to realize more people knew the truth than I had originally believed. Vanessa recovered quickly. "You're paranoid." "Maybe." "You're bitter." "Maybe." "You're going to regret this." That made me smile. "No," I said quietly. "Danielle is." She left. But she had accidentally given me something valuable. Confirmation. The betrayal had been bigger than one person. That night, Daniel showed up at my apartment. I saw him through the peephole before opening the door. He looked terrible. Dark circles, unshaven face, wrinkled clothes. For a brief moment, I saw the man I had once planned to marry. And for an even briefer moment, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the mortgage application, the hidden emails, the title documents, the lies. I opened the door halfway. "What do you want?" "5 minutes." "You have 2. His shoulders sagged. "Claire. Please." I said nothing. "The sellers are demanding damages." I still said nothing. "My credit score has already dropped." "Nothing. I might lose everything." Finally, I spoke. "You should have thought about that before trying to buy a house with my money." His jaw tightened. "That isn't fair." I almost laughed. Not fair. The man who secretly removed me from a home purchase was lecturing me about fairness. "I trusted you." His eyes filled. "I know." "No," I said. "You don't." The hallway fell silent. "You know what the worst part is?" He swallowed. "What?" "I believed every word you said." His face crumpled. For a moment, I thought he might actually understand. Then he ruined it. "You could still help me." There it was. The real reason he came. Not remorse. Not accountability. Money. Again. Always money. How much? 20,000. I stared at him. $20,000. It would solve most of it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You lied to me for months. Tried to put a house in your name. And now you're asking for a loan. I'd pay you back." "No." "Claire. No." "Please." "No." His expression changed. The sadness vanished. The desperation remained. But now, it was mixed with anger. "You know what?" he snapped. "Maybe everyone was right about you." I raised an eyebrow. "Everyone. You only care about yourself." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then I smiled. A small smile. The kind that appears when a final illusion dies. "Get out." "Claire, get out." He stared at me, waiting, hoping, expecting. The same way he had expected me to wire $80,000 without asking questions. When I didn't move, he finally turned and walked away. I watched him disappear down the hallway. Then I closed the door, locked it. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt something unexpected. Not grief. Not anger. Relief. Because the man walking away was no longer someone I loved. He was simply someone I finally understood. 3 weeks after the house deal collapsed, I was served with court papers. The irony almost made me laugh. Daniel had tried to use my money to buy a house without me. Now he was suing me because I refused to let him. The lawsuit claimed that I had verbally promised the down payment as a gift. According to the filing, we had an implied agreement based on our relationship and future plans. I read the complaint twice, then a third time. By the end, I was staring at the pages in disbelief. Not because I was worried, because I couldn't believe someone had actually agreed to file it. My attorney, Rebecca Lawson, reacted differently. She laughed so hard, she had to remove her glasses. This, she said, wiping her eyes, might be the dumbest civil case I've seen this year. That's reassuring. Oh, Claire, this is beyond reassuring. She tapped the papers. The account is in your name. Yes. The funds came from your earnings. Yes. You never signed a gift letter. No. You never signed a purchase agreement. No. She smiled. Then he's about to spend a lot of money learning an expensive lesson. Court was scheduled 6 weeks later. During those weeks, Daniel continued unraveling. Mutual acquaintances fed me updates whether I wanted them or not. The seller had officially sued him for damages caused by the failed closing. His lender had reported issues connected to the collapsed mortgage. He was borrowing money from family members. His parents had become heavily involved. The deeper things went, the worse everything became. Meanwhile, I kept working, kept saving, kept rebuilding a life I never expected to be rebuilding. I stopped checking his social media, stopped asking questions, stopped caring. At least, that's what I told myself. Then court day arrived. The courthouse was smaller than I expected. Old brick, metal detectors, fluorescent lighting that made everyone look exhausted. Rebecca met me outside. You ready? As I'll ever be. She smiled. Good. Because this won't take long. Inside, Daniel was already seated. So were his parents. The sight hit me harder than I expected. Not because I missed them. Because they looked older, tired, worn down. The past few months had clearly taken their toll. Daniel glanced at me. For a moment, neither of us looked away. Then, he turned toward his attorney, a young man who appeared nervous enough to faint. Court began. Daniel's lawyer presented the argument. Relationship. Shared future. Mutual plans. Verbal promises. Inkton. The entire case depended on one idea. That because we had planned a future together, my savings somehow belonged to him. Rebecca stood. When it was our turn, she didn't waste time. Bank records, employment records, tax documents, account statements, years of deposits, every dollar traced, every fact documented. Then came the text messages, dozens of them. Daniel referring to the money as mine. Daniel thanking me for saving it. Daniel discussing using my down payment. Daniel acknowledging multiple times that the account belonged solely to me. The judge spent nearly 20 minutes reviewing the documents. The courtroom remained silent. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Harper. Daniel straightened. Can you provide any documentation showing ownership of these funds? No. Your Honor. Any written agreement transferring ownership? No. Any signed gift letter? No. The judge nodded. Then she turned another page. What I do see are repeated written acknowledgments that the funds belong to Ms. Whitmore. Daniel's attorney attempted to speak. The judge stopped him immediately. With one raised hand. That was all it took. Counselor, your client's position is unsupported by the evidence. The attorney sat back down. The judge continued. Relationships do not automatically transfer ownership of personal assets. Another page turned. This court finds no legal basis for the claims presented. Then came the words everyone expected. Case dismissed. A rush of air escaped my lungs, not because I was surprised, because it was finally over. Or so I thought. Outside the courthouse, Daniel's father intercepted me near the parking lot. Happy now. Rebecca immediately stepped between us, but I gently touched her arm. It's okay. The older man looked furious. The kind of anger built from fear rather than confidence. That money should have helped both of you. No, I said calmly. It was my money. You destroyed her future. I blinked. Her future. His expression shifted. For a moment, confusion crossed his face. Then I realized something. He had spent months listening to Daniel's version of events. Months hearing distorted explanations. Months protecting a son who had never told him the entire truth. I suddenly felt exhausted. Not angry. Just tired. Daniel destroyed his own future. His father opened his mouth, then closed it, because deep down, he knew. Everyone knew. His mother approached next. Unlike her husband, she wasn't angry. She was crying. He's our son. I nodded. I know. He made a mistake. I looked toward the courthouse doors. Toward Daniel, standing alone near the entrance. Toward the man I once imagined marrying. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. Her tears continued falling. A mistake is taking the wrong exit. I paused. What Daniel did required planning. Neither parent answered, because there wasn't an answer. Only consequences. That evening, I received a text from Daniel. The first direct message in weeks. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. One sentence. You won. I read it twice, then set the phone down, because he still didn't understand. This had never been about winning. If anyone had truly won, I wouldn't have lost 4 years of my life. I wouldn't have lost trust. I wouldn't have lost the future I thought I was building. No, this wasn't victory. It was survival. And there was a difference. Over the next month, more information surfaced. Daniel's legal bills had become substantial. The seller's claim had eventually settled. His parents had helped pay. Family relationships were strained. Friends had quietly disappeared. The people who once defended him most aggressively were suddenly nowhere to be found. Funny how loyalty changes when consequences arrive. Then, unexpectedly, Vanessa contacted me. The ex-girlfriend. The one whose cousin had been involved from the beginning. Her message was short. Can we talk? At first I ignored it. Then curiosity won. We met at a coffee shop halfway across town. Vanessa looked nervous. That alone was surprising. She sat down and immediately avoided eye contact. I owe you something. What? The truth. My pulse slowed. Every instinct told me, whatever came next, mattered. And as Vanessa finally lifted her eyes to meet mine, I realized the story I'd been living for months was about to become even bigger than I thought. Vanessa sat across from me, turning her coffee cup slowly between her hands. For nearly a minute, she said nothing. The coffee shop hummed around us. Espresso machines, quiet conversations, dishes clinking, normal sounds from a normal afternoon. Yet something about the way she looked made me feel as though another storm was approaching. Finally, she exhaled. Daniel never thought you'd find out before closing. I stared at her. What? She swallowed. That's the truth. The words landed heavily. Not because they shocked me, because they confirmed everything I had already suspected. What exactly did he plan? Vanessa looked away. My cousin told him the title company would eventually need the gift letter. Daniel assumed it would happen so close to closing that you'd feel trapped. I felt my stomach tighten. Trapped. That was the word. Not included. Not protected. Not loved. Trapped. Vanessa continued. He thought once the mortgage was finalized and the house was officially his, you wouldn't walk away. I laughed once. A short, bitter sound. He underestimated me. Yes. Silence stretched between us. Then she added something unexpected. I underestimated you too. That made me look at her. For the first time since we sat down, there was no hostility in her face. Only embarrassment. Regret. I thought you were controlling. I raised an eyebrow. Daniel told everyone that. Of course he did. Vanessa rubbed her forehead. He made it sound like you managed every dollar and treated him like a child. And you believed him? At first, the honesty surprised me. What changed? She gave a sad smile. The court documents. I couldn't help laughing. Real laughter this time. The kind born from absurdity. So, evidence changed her mind. Apparently, for the first time since meeting her, I almost liked her. Almost. Not enough to forget her role in the disaster, but enough to recognize she was finally telling the truth. There's something else, she said quietly. I waited. My cousin lost his job. That caught me off guard. What? He wasn't fired because of you. She paused. He was fired because investigators found other irregular files. The pieces clicked together. The shortcuts, the hidden paperwork, the strange confidence. Apparently, Daniel hadn't been the only person making questionable decisions. Vanessa looked genuinely ashamed. He thought he was helping family. And he wasn't. We sat quietly after that. Neither of us had much left to say. Eventually, she stood. Before leaving, she hesitated. For what it's worth, Claire. I looked up. I'm sorry. Then she walked away. And that was the last time I saw her. A month later, life finally began settling into something recognizable. Not normal, just quieter. The seller's case officially concluded. Daniel's legal battle was over. The mortgage disaster had become old gossip. People found newer scandals to discuss. That's how small towns work. Nobody stays the main character forever. I heard updates occasionally, mostly through mutual acquaintances. Daniel was living with his parents. His finances were a mess. His credit score had collapsed. Several friendships disappeared. His relationship with his family remained strained. The same people who once defended him now seemed exhausted by him. Apparently, consequences become less exciting when they're happening inside your own house. Meanwhile, my life slowly improved. Not dramatically. No movie montage. No instant happiness. Just small things. Peaceful things. I started sleeping through the night again. Started cooking real meals. Started laughing without forcing it. Started imagining a future that belonged entirely to me. One Saturday morning, I toured a townhouse. Nothing like the original house. Smela. Simpla. Less impressive. But when I walked through it, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. No secret paperwork. No hidden agendas. No one waiting to take ownership of what wasn't theirs. Just possibility. I didn't make an offer immediately. There was no rush. That was another lesson I'd learned. Not every opportunity requires immediate action. Sometimes patience protects you. A week later, I ran into Daniel at a grocery store. The universe apparently enjoys irony. I was standing near the produce section when I saw him. For a moment, neither of us moved. He looked different. Not physically. Exactly. Just smaller somehow. Less certain. Less polished. The confidence that once filled every room had vanished. He pushed a cart containing generic groceries and discount brands. Not that there was anything wrong with that. What struck me wasn't the groceries. It was the expression on his face. For the first time since I'd known him, he looked humbled. Neither of us spoke. He opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded once. A silent acknowledgement, and walked away. That night, a text arrived from an unfamiliar number. I almost deleted it without reading. Instead, I opened it. Claire, I know you probably won't answer. I don't expect you to, but I need to say this. I was wrong. Not about the house. About everything. I convinced myself I was protecting my future. The truth is, I was protecting my ego. I wanted something that was mine. Something I controlled. And somewhere along the way, I stopped caring about what it would cost you. I hurt you. I hurt my parents. I ruined my own life. You warned me. Everyone warned me. I didn't listen. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen. Read the message twice. Then, set my phone down. For several minutes I sat quietly in my living room, thinking. Not about forgiveness. Not about revenge. Just about endings. People always imagine endings are dramatic. They expect final speeches. Closure. Justice. Redemption. Most endings aren't like that. Most endings arrive quietly. One ordinary evening. One final message. One realization that there's simply nothing left to say. I never replied. Not because I hated him. Not because I wanted him to suffer. Because there was no conversation left to have. The lesson had already been learned. By both of us. A few days later, my mother came over for dinner. We talked about work, the weather, the townhouse. Normal things. As she helped clear the table, she glanced at me. How are you really doing? I thought about it. Longer than she probably expected. Then I smiled. Tired. She nodded. But okay. A small smile appeared on her face. Good. I looked around my apartment. At the quiet. At the peace. At the future waiting somewhere ahead. The $80,000 was still mine. Not because I fought for it. Because I refused to surrender it. There is a difference. The dream house was gone. The relationship was gone. The life I thought I wanted was gone. But so was the deception. So was the manipulation. So was the uncertainty. In the end, I didn't lose everything. I lost an illusion. And once it disappeared, I finally saw the truth. My future was never hidden inside someone else's plans. It was waiting for me to build it myself. Carefully. Patiently. One honest decision at a time.